So the brother is asking about some of the stocks that we have, which are in an index fund. Those companies may invest in other businesses or bonds and so on that are not Sharia compliant. How do we look at them? How do we follow? What are the screenings for it, right? So first of all, like I said, we offer an S&P Sharia index fund. We did not create that. S&P did, using some external Sharia scholars. Our scholars, of course, looked at it and made sure that does it follow AOFI guidelines or not. So we replicate that for you, which is what you get to invest in. We do follow another layering of doubling up on halal, and it's called purification, basically. It's part of the guidelines AOFI has established, and it's called AOFI, I think it's called Sharia Rule number 21, that talks about up to 5% of revenue from any business, whether it is questionable or if we can justify that it's coming from haram investments, needs to be purified. So we tell you how much portion of your portfolio, especially from equities, needs to be purified. In other words, donated to charity. It is not sadaqah, it is not zakah, you can't give it to a masjid, it's not used to print a Quran, but pure charity in order to donate that portion that potentially could be coming. Now, if some companies have way above 5% of their overall revenue in businesses like, let's say, debt maybe, or a tobacco business they've invested in or something else, then that stock will probably fail their screenings and will be replaced with something else. But purification is a very important part of that in order to limit it. We cannot stop that from happening because at any point you don't know what a company is going to do, where they're going to invest portion of their revenues. Companies do this often enough to primarily get a tax break or to grow their own revenue stream, basically. But that is purification, which is what we do in order to try and limit that or control it as much as we can. But if Imam Hani would like to elaborate on that.
The only thing I'll add to that, and that suffices as an answer, it's to know that when it comes to the scholars of Islamic fiqh or Islamic finance, when it comes to this particular issue, even here in the United States and the global standard today in our era, this is the AOFI standards, this is the ruling of the scholars here, scholars all around in Kuwait, Middle East, in the eastern parts of Asia, all across the world, the scholars have come to this similar conclusion that if you're investing in any of these companies, due to that small amount of doubt that you might not be aware of, such as their credit or their debt, you have to purify it with, and they set the standard at 5%. If their debt increases, and there's a threshold, if it increases beyond the standard, then it's no longer permissible to invest in them with that amount of purification. So the amount of purification, for example, here in the United States, and according to the AOFI standards, is 5%. But some companies are not, they're not within the boundaries of these standards of the Sharia Council, so they would not be permissible to invest in. Wallahu alam. So they would be outside of that.